You're listening to the Restoration Podcast, conversations of hope and healing. Join us as we talk about subjects dealing with ministry, faith, everyday life, and other hot topics. Our prayer is that these conversations bring encouragement to your life.
Y'all, this is Austin Yanney, who's on today.
Sup?
Is it pastor?
No.
Do you go by pastor?
Nope.
Is that like intentional? Like,
Yes.
why is that?
Well, so a little bit about me. My name is Austin Yanney, like Aaron just said. I work at Worship City Church, also in Sioux City. It's awesome to be here. My parents started Worship City Church, formerly known as Family Worship Center Church, in 2007. So I grew up here since 2007 in church, always served and stuff. And so I left to go to school at Oral Roberts University in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
We got another Oklahomian.
Unfortunately.
Oh, yeah. So coming back on staff was something that I feel like the Lord called me to, because I wasn't against it. I wasn't like, I'm never going back to, Iowa. I'm never like, some people do feel that way. Actually, my older sister, I'll tell on her. She was kind of in that position of, I don't want to go back.
Your older sister that works at the same church?
She does, yeah. Emily works at the same church, yeah. And so she was kind of in that boat.
Sure.
But I really wasn't. I was open to it. I didn't know, because I didn't want to do it just because it was the comfortable thing to do, or I know this culture, it's my family. But I ended up feeling like the Lord called me back here, and I really felt like in my life, I started when I would have been 21 still, and I'm like, I just didn't feel ready to take on the role of pastor.
Sure.
Because pastor, like, I think the title of pastor carries a lot of weight, carries a lot of importance, and a lot of responsibility. And I just didn't feel like spiritually, emotionally, physically, I was ready to step into that. But I still wanted to, do a lot of the things that, required, especially so my position at Worship City is worship director and worship and tech director.
Yeah, you wear both hats.
Yeah.
Well, even more than that, right? Multiple.
Right, and I'm in other areas too, but those are my main focuses, and so that's kind of I intentionally am like, I'm still a little hesitant. I think I'm more ready now to want to step into that, because my role has been very pastoral.
Yeah.
And I think one of my friends actually called me out on it one time. He's like, I was like, we were actually having this conversation. I was like, I'm not ready to be a pastor. And he's like, dude, you already are.
You're doing it. Yeah, you
being
are.
a pastor to people. And so I don't know. I'm still like a little bit wary, just because I want more experience under my belt before I maybe take it a little bit more seriously, not in like this person shouldn't be a pastor, like I'm just super perfect. I don't want that responsibility yet, if I'm being honest, because I know, like, growing up underneath a pastor, I know what that looks like and what that means. It's your life. And so, not that it will be life forever. I'm talking too much. But, I think that, it's very intentional for me right now.
I appreciate that you see that it's not just a title.
Yeah.
We just did an episode, I don't know when it'll come out, with a pastor friend of mine in Houston, and we talked about that a little bit, how it could very easily just be a title that people are after or that people want.
I think most of the time it is.
Or like, oh, they're pastor, or like, oh, let me. So in both seats, so like, attenders at the church are like, oh, that's pastor so and so. I need to put them on this pedestal.
Right.
Or the pastor themselves, once they receive that title, it's like they see themselves kind of over. You know what I mean?
For sure.
But I like that you see that. But so you're responsible for worship and tech, correct? But so much more, right? You and I have that in common, in that our churches are very similarly sized.
Yeah.
Very similarly structured too. And so because of that, people like you and me, who are the worship leader, worship pastor, we end up doing a lot more than just worship. Yeah, right? That's kind of the thing about if you work. So if you and I were to go be the equivalent position at a bigger church,
100%.
All those guys do is the worship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And they that's all they can handle.
Right, at a church that size. Yeah. Whereas here, our churches are kind of in between. We have our churches have more than 100, right? But less than like 2,000 or 1,000, right? Yeah. And so it's because of that we have to wear multiple hats.
Yeah.
Which depending on the day, I enjoy because I get to learn a lot.
Right.
Like I've learned so much here compared to like the first day we met. I don't remember when that was, dude. The amount I've learned since then is like
I think it was at Siouxland Christian at the
that's true.
worship thing.
That's right. Yeah, so that's another thing we have a connection there is the Christian school here in town, Siouxland Christian School. You're closely affiliated with.
Yeah.
And so we played together for was it a fundraiser? Is that what that was?
Mm-hmm.
They put together a worship team, which I loved. They were like comprised of people from different churches.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, that was the first time we met.
Yeah. I would love to do that, like more often. Like
we talked about that.
Like doing
trying to do that.
Yeah, worship with other worship leaders and doing it, multi-church.
Collectively.
Something in my prayer time I've been praying about is just, Lord, unify the church in Sioux City.
Yeah, just the church in general.
The church.
Big C church.
Yeah.
I think I told you too when you mentioned that and we said we wanted to try to do that, which here we are like 2 years later. It's just, we're so busy. Everyone's busy. But I had mentioned that there was a similar ministry. Maybe I told you, maybe I didn't. But when I'm from Houston, a humongous,
I remember that.
Huge city, millions. And so when you try to do that in a city like Houston, it's impossible to get from everywhere.
Yep.
But we did have a ministry called Juventud con Fuego, which in English means young people with fire or young people on fire.
Yeah.
And they did it, I think, like once a month. And it was basically like a big youth service. And they would rotate the host church. And it was not affiliated with any denomination. So we got all kinds of churches. And it was basically just a worship night.
It's cool.
And we would pack out every church that hosted.
That's awesome.
And during that time, they would have worship. And whoever MC was, they'd find some time in between, and they would say, hey, if you're here and you're a youth pastor or youth leader, we want to meet together.
Yeah.
So they would take all the youth pastors, all the youth leaders from all these different denominations, different size churches, and they'd go meet. I was never in that room because I was attending as a youth.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming it was some of the same language of unifying and like trying to help the church in general.
Love
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that'd be a cool thing to see here.
Yeah. No, I think it's definitely more feasible.
In Sioux City, definitely. Yeah.
To be able to have a touch point with multiple churches
because there's not as many here.
100%.
Yeah. I think there was a guy who was trying to do something like that, which is another way that we connected. I don't know if you remember this. There was another worship pastor in town who has since moved, but he was trying to make connections to get something started.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember this, but the three of us were supposed to meet for coffee.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember which order it was, but the first time we met, I think...
He didn't show up.
I think you were the first one that didn't show up.
No, yeah, you guys met first.
So I was like, okay, so I went to this coffee shop, and I'm like... Okay, he showed up and we're like, where's Austin? We texted him. We're like, oh, dude, I forgot I have whatever going on. Okay, so it was just me and him.
Yeah.
Then we're like, let's try it again. And then me and you showed up.
Yes.
And then he didn't show up. And he was like...
So basically, you're the only consistent
So
one.
I got the benefit of the thing. Yeah, I learned a lot about how y'all do your thing. And he's since moved. Actually, he moved to Baytown, Texas, which is very close to my hometown.
Yeah.
like very close. So good for him. And he's still doing the worship stuff. But yeah, so today, we can talk about whatever, and we can go for hours and hours.
No,
we won't do that, I promise. But we obviously have to talk about worship because that's what we do. That's kind of our lives, right? I don't know how to kind of start this off, but kind of a basic question that can go in so many directions is like, has worship always been like your first love in the church or in the ministry? Did you always know like, oh, I'm going to be a worship leader somewhere? Did you always know that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely developed a love for music and started doing, I don't know. I have so many thoughts right now.
Do it. Yeah, that's what this is for.
Doing worship is such an interesting concept, especially when you grow up in it. It's like, this is just something that we do. Mm-hmm. And I think it's something that I early on kind of noticed that I had a knack for. Mm-hmm. It's not just singing. It's not just playing an instrument. It's being able to rally people,
right?
On not just, and I would love to say it's just in a spiritual way, mm-hmm. but it's not, most of the time, and I'm not saying this is good or bad. I'm just saying most of the time it's in an emotional way to rally people to come into a moment to connect with God. Mm-hmm. And, I feel like I early on kind of had that gift, not necessarily, I feel like my musical talent and gift didn't start out great, but it progressed over time. Whereas some people start very musically gifted and then they develop in the kind of the exhortation and the exhortation is just a fancy word for getting people on fire, getting people pumped up, getting people not just for an emotional way, but really in a way that calls them to God.
Yeah.
Exhorting, encouraging. So I think that's kind of where I started, is like I definitely had a gift to encourage people.
Yeah.
And so then my kind of journey with that was, my dad loved, guitar, and he taught me how to play guitar, and I started playing guitar when I was like 12, I think. And then just kind of developing singing, and started, I mean, my dad is the pastor, so I had kind of an inroad to be able to do that from an early age. And so I think I started leading in the main sanctuary at like 16.
Oh, wow. Leading or just being on the team?
Yeah, no, that's a good distinction. I think it was. I did take a while for me to actually start leading songs.
Eventually be the one that leads. Yeah.
But definitely was like playing guitar. I actually am remembering, like, I didn't sing for a while.
Yeah.
I was in the back playing guitar, but I eventually, probably when I was 17, started singing, leading songs and
That's
stuff.
what I'm saying. So, like, when you were 16, 17, and you were doing that, were you like, this is what I want to do the rest of my life? Or did it take time to...
I think I definitely had an inkling that it was, like, going to be a part of my life for the rest of my life.
Yeah. In some form.
Yeah.
So I can, not to cut you off,
No,
but I
good.
can relate to that. Because when I started young, too, I started in a youth band. And I've talked about it before in this, but I started as a student, and when I started doing that, I was like, I want to do this the rest of my life. Yeah. Not per se like in this position,
right?
But like as long as I'm alive on this earth, physically and mentally able, I'm like, I know I'm going to do that.
I'll probably end up serving in this capacity for the rest of my life. Yeah. I didn't. I don't know, honestly. I think I would have to kind of go back and kind of self-reflect a little bit, but I think I always felt a calling to do ministry. I didn't know if that was always going to just be with music. But that at the same time, I never really, after seeing my parents go through not only planting a church, but building a church, it's not for the faint of heart.
It's hard.
It's
ministry.
Hard.
Let's make that very clear. Ministry is not easy. Okay, no. You put that, it's not for the faint of heart.
It can suck.
It really can.
A lot.
It's got a very, and it's sad that that's the reality, because the church from the outside is always seen as, the happy place, the place where everyone's happy. I mean, look at any church's social media page.
Right, exactly.
You see smiles, and again, that's all good. That's what we want to promote, you know what I'm saying? And but when you're in it full time, like you, I'm assuming, I learned a lot about the flip side of the coin, so to speak. Like 100%. It's exactly what you said, not for the faint of heart. There's a lot of difficult decisions that had to be made. I remember when I first got hired. So your dad is your senior pastor, lead pastor. My father-in-law is my so we kind of have that in common too. But he told me when I first got hired, he was like, "Hey, just to let you know, this job will it'll wear you out." Yeah. And I was like, "It's an office job, not to minimize the pastorship, but like I was a teacher before, you knew that, where I'm on my feet for like 9 hours a day, and I'm like, how is it going to wear me out?" And he's like, no, not physically. He's like, spiritually and emotionally. Yep. And I didn't know what that meant until about a couple months in. Then I was like, oh, and it's true. It's it wears you down emotionally and spiritually.
Yeah, people wear you out, man. I mean, and I love, like, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing, or my parents wouldn't have started what they started if they didn't love people. Of course. And that's what it's all about. But people can suck. Like, they can drain you, like, truly. And I think it's because, I mean, everybody has people in their life that can, suck and drain the life out of them. But especially for the role of a pastor, it's like, that's your ministry. Yeah. And you pour yourself out to people, and you give everything, and then they come and stomp all over you. And that doesn't happen every time, but
it's not always like that.
No, but I've watched it happen.
But when it happens
multiple times to my parents, and it's devastating. It's heartbreaking.
Because you grew up in a pastor's home, so you've seen it.
And I actually grew up, I would say, in a good pastor's home. And what I mean by that is I don't have like this sense of resentment toward my parents, because they really did prioritize their family above ministry.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
And it developed, that's why I'm in ministry today, because I wouldn't be if my parents, just were so focused on the church and not focused on me. But I saw them go through a lot. So it's
how many ministers out there do the opposite, prioritize the ministry over their family, and then their kids are probably not even a part of church, or are they, not even serving or
for sure
in a church or whatever.
Yeah.
My sister was on too, and she's a worship leader also, not paid, but just a volunteer or whatever. And she, I had mentioned that to her because she has 3 kids. She's married. She has a full-time job, and she's a worship leader. Dang. But she prioritizes the family over that. And that's what we see. Same here. Like my parents were children's pastors for like over 30 years. Yeah. Not like, again, full-time, part-time or whatever, but they never put the church before us. Yeah. It was all about family. I like that you said that. But yes, ministry can be quite an animal. It can be difficult. It's been said that the best part about ministry is the people, but the most difficult part is also the people.
I always like to say church doesn't suck, but people suck.
Yeah.
And they're loved, and they're so worth the struggle and the pain, and like I'm worth the struggle and the pain. That Jesus went through for me. Yeah, that's good. And so it's like having that heart, and not taking things too personally. I think is really hard.
That's easier said than done.
No, for sure. I mean, especially when somebody on our worship team like leaves, or somebody that I've really connected with, or whatever the situation is, and I can, it's like, oh man, I poured out my heart.
Right.
I poured out, I really tried to give them, what I feel like I was supposed to, and then it's just like, we're gonna go find a different place now, and it's like, that's reality, and I would probably, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing for them, but it's just like when you have that connection with somebody, and then it's just difficult.
And you and I are young. Your parents have gone through it, and my father-in-law, they've gone through it way more than we have.
For sure.
I bet that hit you hard too when you said you were 21 when you started. Yeah. And maybe the first couple times that happened, that must have hit you like a bus.
Dude.
It did for me.
Yeah. No, yeah,
like,
for sure.
Oh, but now that I get older and more, experienced and more seasoned in my faith even, and in my leadership role, I'm not saying that it doesn't affect me anymore. It'll always hurt. It'll always be whatever. But I've learned to, again, like you said, not take it so personally. Yeah. And to still support and love those people, like you said. Right. That's so key. That's what we're called to do, whether you're a pastor or not, is to love people. Jesus says it himself, And so, it can be tough, but
and like leading people too. Like I know that you lead a few teams here, and so it's like leading. How do you lead people and still love them? Like how do you prune somebody and still encourage them?
Yeah, there's a fine line.
And not be, because you hear so many horror stories, or just, and horror is a big word, but just a lot of people come out with church hurt from different churches.
That's a hot topic right now.
Yeah,
church hurt,
and it's like, I think my big thing is like, there's going to be church hurt because you're going to church with people. Yep. And so, how do you repair? You can't control them, but then how do I kind of look at it like, okay, I know that this person, I never want to be the guy who they talk about being, like, who hurt them.
I know, right?
I know that
it's gonna,
it's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
For sure.
It's going to happen.
But I think that there's things that I can do, and that you can do, that we can do as people in the ministry, of being completely honest, of owning even the 1% of like of maybe something that we did or didn't do, and maybe they took personally, but it's like owning 100% of my 1%.
That's good.
And then being honest, be like, hey, I see you. I'm so sorry that happened, and I'm not ignoring it. I've definitely have had issues with ignoring things or just kind of putting it off. Yeah. Because I'm not a very, like, what is the word? Confrontational.
Confrontational.
It's not my strong suit.
Really?
So, no, I in some situations I can be confrontational, but especially in relationship, I get pretty timid because I don't want to hurt people.
Because you know what's going to happen after, or what could happen after.
Well, and I play that out in my mind of like, we're going to do this, and then, so.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so you're a worship leader, but I have to say this too, and it's not just because cameras are rolling. Oh. You're like, you're one of these people that just like, you're just so like cool. Like you got the look, like you've got the vibe. And I'm like, man, I envy that, because like I wish,
you're cool.
Oh, I appreciate it. I take that.
You got Ray-Bans on, bro. What the heck?
Thanks for noticing. But you're just one of those guys. You just got that vibe about you. And not only that, but you're extremely talented too.
Thank you.
Like your voice, I like to describe myself as a baritone in denial. Because like I wish I could sing as high as Chris Brown or Phil Wickham.
Love Chris Brown.
But not everybody can. But you can. I tune in and I'm like, he didn't change the key to that song. Where me and Lance, our other main male vocalist, we already know the formula. By the way, for all you music nerds out there, if there's a song by like Brandon Lake or whoever, and we're like, there's no way we can sing in that key, like you could, we have to go down. How far do we go? I think we go down a whole major third.
Okay.
That's the formula. So if it's in D flat, we already know that's going to be an A for us. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
and it's hard because I think what I've been learning is sometimes it's kind of like it definitely used to be a deal where it was like I have to prove myself that I can sing in the same key that the big hits, the big.
I'm gonna tell you something right now. I let that go a long time ago.
And I think for me now it's like, okay, honestly, it's been more of a practical thing. Like, if I can sing in the key that it's recorded in, it actually makes it a lot easier for my band members to learn the song.
If it's in the same key, yeah.
And so, and honestly, like, yeah, I do have a bit of a higher voice, so it does work out. But it is like something that I've been aware of like, okay, is this something that is a me thing? Like I'm just trying to do this to impress people.
Yeah, that's good.
And then also, is this something that's going to actually be practically like helpful for the people that I'm serving?
Yeah.
Are people actually going to be able to sing in this key?
That's another.
Just because I can sing in the key,
those are two great questions.
Doesn't mean that Bill or Joe is going to be able to sing in the key, and they're not already. I know that, but most people can't really sing. But do they feel like I'm being excluded right now? And I haven't really felt that.
Sure.
But I want to be aware of that. I want to be honest where I'm at. Of like, okay, is this some sort of power trip or some sort of thing that I'm doing to impress somebody else?
Yeah. We've also learned too that we can't change it too much because then, this is a very deep musical thing, but just the feel of the song. So the songs you hear on the radio or whatever, they're in that key, whatever, maybe because that's what Brandon Lake could sing or whatever. But there's also a kind of how you said church has an emotional and not just a spiritual thing.
For sure.
Music's the same way.
For sure.
So the key of E doesn't feel the same as the key of whatever.
Yeah,
so
I love the key of E.
That's my favorite key, by the way, to play keys in.
Yes, I love playing keys
and singing. Like that's all those questions are being asked by the artists and the producers first too as well, and they eventually land on that. But anyway, back to what I was saying. We learn we can't really change it too much because then it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, and for me, it's like we're still in a place at our church where we don't have as much of a band.
Sure.
We just have a few people who have been consistent and they're really talented, but being able to play with a track and not have to transpose the track. I know this is going to get what I'm talking about.
But go deep. Yeah,
I think for like you lose the essence of the track the more that you transpose to a different key.
You just said that a lot clearer than I was. That's what I was trying to say.
Right, and since we rely on tracks,
like
it's for a bit more heavily than what I would like to in the future.
It's only because you're shorthanded.
It's only because we don't have the
and that's
people.
Exactly what they're there for, actually.
Right, exactly.
It's one of the main reasons they're there.
Yeah, and I think I think the church will never go back to not using tracks, at least a little bit, just because they're so beneficial.
They really fill out.
But you want to be able to, and I think this is something the last 2 years I've been learning and growing in and experimenting in, is like being able to flow with tracks, and like how do you flow in a worship moment with a track. And but yeah, I'm kind of more aware of like those things than I definitely used to be, because I used to say to myself, well, if we just had 3 electric guitar players and a bass player and 2 keys players and
we're set,
a drummer and 5 singers, and every week we'd be. But then that leaves more work on me to prepare all those people.
You'll have to know all those parts.
Yeah. So it's definitely nice to not have to go through that every week. And
so a really deep tracks question for you. Do you think it's kind of ridiculous the way they split the electric, especially guitar tracks?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Like, there's 7 tracks, and then you go in and you look at the WAV files, the sound files, you're like, wait.
They only come in here and here.
2 bars?
Yes.
Couldn't you just put that on?
Yes, exactly. And my electric guitar player, his name's Tyler, and he's like, yeah, man, like, because we mute the parts that he plays.
Of course, yeah.
And so
that's exactly what we do.
Yeah, and so like he'll I'm like, so what parts do you want muted? And he's like, dude, I don't even know.
How do I tell you?
Like, there's like 13 different like lines that I can all do, but they're on like so many different places.
Let me tell you what I used to do. Again, y'all are learning all my secrets on this one. But I used to, and I still do. Okay, I still study them because as the worship leader, you have to know. Like, you would never ask your team to do something that you wouldn't do yourself.
Right.
So don't ask them, hey, come be prepared, but then you don't know. Like, and you don't know where to. I used to like, because I used to be a band director, like I said, and there's a thing called score study where you have all the parts and you mark whatever. So I kind of did a worship style of that. This is very redundant. I'm just going to tell you right now. And if this makes you cringe, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
But what I do is I go and log into multi-tracks or whatever. Yeah. And I print out like 10 copies of the chart, right? And I've got different pens. And listen to the bass track. And I get a pen that's red and I write this bass. And I just listen and I'm like, oh, they do this here. Just little notes that I want to know.
Oh, that's
and I
cool.
do that for all the instruments, okay? And so sometimes more in depth than other times. But anyway, back to the electric guitar specifically thing is I listen to those and I'm like, I only have like one thing marked, and so I'm like, how am I supposed to like deactivate or whatever? And similar thing here, our main guitar player, electric guitar player, his name is Lance. He texts me, he's like, turn off the 3 part, and I'm like, well, what about the 6 part? And you know, it's so I don't know why they split it that way. I really don't. It's a lot, and the keys is slowly getting that way too.
Yeah. Do you have the ability to share the track with your band?
Yeah. So again, I'm totally fine getting this deep. This is totally cool. So we have integrated Planning Center and multi-tracks.
Okay.
So if I go to...
Oh, that's sick. Yeah.
I'll show you, actually. So if I go to Planning Center, PCO, getting deep here in the worship leading world. So let's say I'm scheduled for this Sunday, and I see... Actually, that's a bad example. I need to get that set list in.
I'm done. We can go into set list.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, so then I go here, and so all the attachments are there. So if I play keys or I can listen to it, and it has the click and guide, and then my part
automatically uploads that,
and my part's sick, and my part's boosted, and the reason I did that, again, back to the like, don't ask people to do something you wouldn't do yourself.
Yeah, is
that just immensely. Absolutely rocked my world for my personal practice time.
Yeah.
Because I go in and I'm like, and then I thought about it. I was like, well, let the team have that too.
Yeah.
You know? And so now it's in there for that.
That's awesome. So you didn't have to manually like put in those files to the songs. Mm-mm. Dang, I like that.
I'll show you how it works.
Yeah. We use Song Select right now.
We have that too.
So you use multi-track and Song Select.
So I'm Song Select is like the giant safety net if it's like because like there's a million songs.
Yeah.
There. And basically, if a song exists, it's going to be there. It's just for I just need a quick reference.
Yeah.
The multi-track thing, as you know, it like goes through the whole flow, and that's more specific. But anyway, continue. You use Song Select.
What I've been frustrated with is Song Select doesn't have. So to preface, like I have a lady who plays on our worship team in a different position, but she wants to start. She has mentioned that she learned how to play classical piano. Like she played.
She wants sheet music.
Yeah, so she wants sheet music, but Song Select doesn't do piano sheet music.
Praise Charts does.
Praise Charts, and so I've been looking into that, but it's just like the financial piece of paying for all those different subscriptions.
The thing about Praise Charts too is that I love this. I haven't gotten this deep with anyone else yet. I love it. People aren't listening anymore. They stopped listening a long time ago.
Okay.
But Praise Charts, the thing about them is, back in the day, they were just for sheet music or whatever.
Right.
But they actually do everything now. I don't know if you know that. They have stems in there too now.
That's dope.
So you could do it all from the same. But you're like, okay, do I change where I get my stems from just to get this or whatever? But
and I do.
And you have horns sometimes, right? A saxophone and a
yes. Yep. Saxophone.
Praise Charts.
Yep. So Song Select does. I just print out the lead part,
and that's enough for them.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah, because Praise Charts does. They have an arranger. I think his name is Dan Galbraith, and like basically any worship song you hear, he's orchestrated it for like for any instrument.
That's sick.
So a clarinet, a violin. So if you have someone that's like, hey, I play flute. Can I play on the worship team? And you're like, I don't know. So go to Praise Charts, and they have the parts there.
Dude, that's sick. I love that.
Or what I do, we have a gal who plays flute. She's really good. She plays when she's up. I actually have been writing her parts.
Cool.
And so
that's way beyond
it's
me.
really
I don't know how to do it.
It's really fun because actually back to the electric guitar thing, that's where I go.
Yeah.
I go and I'm like, okay, and I isolate it. I'm like, hey, that's a cool lick. We don't ever get to hear it. have the flute play it. You know,
that's
what I mean?
cool.
Yeah, it's
I
nice.
love that.
It's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, you're definitely investing a lot more into the musicality of your team.
I'm sure you're doing fine.
No, I feel like I could definitely do a better job, especially of just knowing the different parts. I think that's really important. I just kind of guess sometimes. If I'm being honest, I'm just kind of like, I listen to it a few times and I'm like, yeah, I think we'll figure it out. Instead of like sitting down and not that, I've been getting by, but I think it could just be that much better when I invest more time. So it's a good conviction for me.
No, and that's not why I brought that up.
No, it's okay.
But again, it's just the band director in me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's
definitely your lane of like the orchestration, the arrangement. Yeah,
it kind of carried over because you knew all the parts because they're literally in front of you, and I'm like, okay, well, let me carry that over here.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
But so you play guitar and keys, correct?
I play, yes, acoustic. Mainly, I can play electric if I have to, but I'm not like good. I wouldn't say I'm good at electric and then keys.
But acoustic's your go-to.
Yeah, I started with acoustic, and I like leading from acoustic better than keys. But I do love playing keys, especially when I don't have to sing and play keys.
Yeah,
I think I'd rather lead sing and play acoustic or just play keys.
Just play keys.
But right now in our situation, I've been playing keys and singing.
It's hard, isn't it?
It's definitely, especially with like syncopation and singing at the same time. Like we've been doing it. We just did it yesterday. The song from Bethel, "The Blood," and it's like the piano part is like.
They love. This is another thing about these artists. I hope Bethel's listening. I'm sure they are. I'm sure they're listening. Y'all, there's people that play only keys like myself. Y'all need to stop putting the cool keys licks where the singer sings.
Yes.
We just did There's No Way by Red Rocks, and there's a great keys thing, piano thing. It's beautiful. It's so intricate. And I'm like, I think I know what's going to happen, and you don't understand this. So there's a little interlude before the bridge, right? And I'm like, it's going to continue, isn't it? And sure enough, the same thing continued. And so I'm thankful we have 2 keyboards every week because we have so many keys players. I'm so thankful for them.
I love that.
But it's nice because I can say, hey, I'm leading this. Can you take the lead part there or whatever? And so I had to do that. We started on a Wednesday, and I told Hannah, who was playing second keys, I said, hey, here's the lick. Let me teach it to you or whatever. Can you take over there?
Dude, that's sick.
But
I love that you guys have that many.
It's so hard to play a cool lick and sing.
Even just like playing octaves for me, like it's just like I'm just not at the level where I can play it without like looking at it every once in a while. So then I'm like trying to sing and like play like this and
it's like riding a bike and juggling.
Yeah,
for
sure.
So you can ride the bike, but like, and when I first like not audition, when I first like applied for this job, I had to like, okay, so. I was always a volunteer at a church, so when I was in Springfield or whatever, but for a while I was just on the team. I wasn't leading, so I hadn't led from behind a keyboard in a while. And so when I came back here, it took me a while to, it's like and it took me a while to remember, but a few months, maybe even a year in, it's finally now. It's,
that's me with acoustic because like sometimes, like because I'm playing keys so much, like I just won't pick up my acoustic, and I'm like so busy, and so then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put myself on acoustic, and then I'm like playing, and I'm like, my calluses are like so gone right now, like I can't. Anyways,
I wish I could play guitar. I tried, I can't.
Yeah,
I know people say don't say you can't, but
practice,
I really.
It's painful practice.
I still there you go. I have an acoustic sitting in my office closet right now. That was gifted to me last year. It's been sitting there for a year now. So like it's not a matter of I don't have one to practice on. I do have one, but I haven't So
okay.
I don't know.
It's not easy. I mean, learning a new instrument, especially when you
get older,
is so hard.
Yeah,
I don't want to even try.
When did you pick up keys?
So I played a little bit in high school. Like I would just play chords and like kind of mess around. But then I really started playing in college. Like I really picked it up. Like,
so
especially like Nashville number system and that kind of stuff.
Oh, you know your numbers. Oh, good for you.
Oh yeah, I've been trying to implement that in my team.
I have too.
It's so hard.
One is the one they know.
Yep.
But when you're like 4 or 5, whatever, and I was surprised when I first brought that up. I was surprised at who didn't know because they were such such excellent musicians. I would have never known. And I'm like, oh, and so I tried to, and then I also tried to teach it to the vocals too. And I said, hey, this isn't just an instrument thing.
Yeah.
Because the chord will affect your harmony you sing.
Right.
And the example I used was Yes, I Will by Vertical. At the very end, it goes to the 6th chord and then the 1 after that. And I'm like, that'll affect your harmony because what you sing on the 1 is not going to work for the 6 and vice versa.
Right.
But I love the number thing. And it's funny because I'm a unique I'm a unique situation because I was a classically trained guy. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then the worship thing kind of came as well.
You had to dumb it down.
And no, not
Just
dumb it down. No. But I had to like merge the two.
Yeah.
And I didn't think you could merge the two.
Right.
And so I learned all the number stuff, but they didn't say, hey, this is the Nashville number system. It was just music theory, period.
Sure.
So then I don't remember the first time it was, but I was playing on a team or something, and they started saying numbers, and it immediately clicked because I was like, I know what that is. And so, but it's really, really helpful.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it took me a while to learn, but
and the number system makes a lot of sense on the piano because you can literally see it.
Mm-hmm.
Guitar, I can't do that.
Yeah, you just have to practice. Like,
Kudos
there's just some keys that I don't know which chord is which.
Sure.
On the piano I do, but especially when I'm playing guitar, I'm like if I'm in the key of F sharp, I don't know. I couldn't right off the top of my head tell you what the 4 is or something, you know.
Interesting. But you can play it like
I could figure it out.
You can hear what's
I
coming,
could hear
right?
it,
You can kind of.
I definitely play by ear. Yeah.
I remember that Alicia's. She's at your church. She's also the worship director at the Christian school. She told me that about you. She's like, yeah, Austin kind of plays by ear, and then it was funny because like that's another thing. We can go on this for an hour. It's been that long, but and we're good. We're good. But we use iPads for the chord charts or whatever.
Yeah.
And I actually just read a book, which I highly recommend, by the way. It's called Spark by Jeff Dio. You know who Jeff Dio is, right?
Mm-mm.
The founder one of the founding members of Sonic Flood. Kind of old.
I don't know what Sonic Flood is.
Oh,
dude.
man.
I'm not the only one who doesn't know who Jeff
How do you not know
is.
who that is? Anyway, bless the Lord.
Bless the Lord, oh my soul. That?
Not that one. No.
Dude, I literally don't know.
And I will worship you. I will
Yeah.
bless you. Okay, anyway.
No, I don't know
Yeah,
that.
definitely not the only person.
Let's
I
go.
could sing of your love forever.
Gen Z. Are you Gen Z?
I'm millennial.
Okay, we're a Gen Z. That's a marker.
Anyway, I still recommend the book.
Okay.
But he was, how did I get on that? Oh, he was talking about how, and see if you relate to this, how like as a worship leader or pastor, in the moment you're like, I'm not really looking at the chart, and then you go watch the stream and you're like, whoa, my eyes are like glued. Dude,
Yeah.
I hate that. For me
Yeah.
personally, it just makes me cringe, and so I was like, I really want to just be more free. It's more freeing when you don't have to look or
For
whatever.
sure.
And so I've just kept having an excuse about, I need it just in case, because sometimes when I don't lead a song, I'm MD basically.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I gotta be ready to call whatever.
Right.
And I was like, someday I'll just be brave and not have it.
Right.
Well, I think the Lord heard me because a couple weeks ago my iPad was like going haywire,
Dude.
and I was like, I guess this is it, and it's fine. I'm still here, right?
Yeah, let's go.
And so like I try my best again to be the model musician of the team or whatever.
Right.
And so like I try not to be glued to the charts or whatever. And there's songs we play 100 times over and over.
Yeah.
And they have the same 4 chords,
Yes.
And so
Love
it's
worship
kind
music.
of it's kind of a safety net. It's meant to be a safety net, not a crutch. You know what I mean? But yeah, I've tried to be better at that, and I've noticed as time goes on, and it was actually Ben Miller, my predecessor. He's the one that told me, he goes, dude, after a few years, he goes, you're literally not going to need those because you'll already know, and you'll be able to hear it. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, that's what it is for me. I mean, I don't use any sheet music.
Good
or
for you.
anything. Sometimes I
Good for
need
you.
it. Sometimes I'm like, I'm just kind
new
of
song
it up.
or
Yeah. Sometimes it takes me a few times to play it through to actually like get some of the licks and some of the chords. Like it's supposed to be a 3 instead of a 4.
They change it.
They change it.
That's kind of a trend I've
Especially
seen.
the bridges, like they change.
That's a trend I've seen, and I like where they're changing progressions following the bridge. The chorus now does this instead of this. I like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
The music nerd in me likes that.
Yeah.
But anyway, not to get too deep, like I said, but you have also written music, correct, and recorded it?
Yes.
Did you write that stuff that y'all put out last year? It's a year ago, right? Christmas time, y'all put out something, or was that 2 years?
2 years ago.
Whoa! Did you write that?
I did.
So I'm fascinated with the songwriting process because a desire of mine ever since I was a little boy was to write my own music. I've still yet to do that.
Yeah.
So how does that process go about? Do you hear it all? Do you just get inspired? Do you?
Yeah. For me, songwriting is so weird. I love it though. It's like, that song in particular just kind of drop. Like I have different experiences with different songs that I write.
Yeah.
And I write a lot of my own music. Like, it's not actually like worship. It's just like kind of indie pop stuff, and write a lot of love songs about my wife. So, but so aside from that, like there's some times where I have a line that I just kind of write.
Sure.
I'm like, oh, that would sound cool.
Like a musical line or a lyric?
Like a lyric.
Okay.
I usually start with lyrics.
Sure.
Lyrics is usually
that's what I was getting at. Where do you start?
Yeah.
Lyrics?
So usually my process is I start with a lyric, but so that's probably like I would say 70% of the time, and then maybe 30% of the time I hear like some kind of musical lick or some beat, and I'm like, oh, dude, that'd be cool, and I just kind of start riffing over it, and then I fill in the lyrics later. But most of the time, that's not how it goes. Most of the time, it's like I hear this line like, "Oh, what a pretty girl you are," like something stupid, and it's like, and then I like workshop
That's for the worship song. Right?
Oh yeah. We're talking about
the woman at the well or something.
Yeah, the woman.
No, that's a bad example.
I'm dead.
I'll cut that out.
Yeah. So that's where it starts for me, and then I move into this. It either goes where I have to workshop it a lot, kind of make up lines. I use rhymer block, and it's like an app where I just literally
giving away your secrets.
Yeah, dude.
Today, huh?
I just type in what rhymes with this word, and then I just throw in some ideas and see what works. And then other times it's like I get songs. I don't know if I don't know if I would say it's a download from the Holy Spirit.
I was about to use that exact word.
Yeah.
I was about to say spiritual download.
But it feels like it just kind of drops in me.
That happens.
Honestly. Yeah. And it's just like, so that the one that we released from the church, How Can This Be, was definitely a moment where I just sat down at the piano. I was like, just thinking about, God's love during Christmas, and I don't know, it's just like it just came out. And I've had maybe probably 3 or 4 songs like that. Very rare.
That's
like
amazing.
I've written a lot more than 3 or 4 songs, but it's like there's a couple that kind of happened, and they weren't all like worship.
That's amazing.
So
Ben, my predecessor, also he's part of a thing called SD Collective. It's a bunch of worship leaders in South Dakota, and they actually, what's cool about them is they collab and they write stuff too, but they do it kind of remotely, like in a drive, because they're all over. And I asked him the same thing. I was like, how do you even begin? And tell me if you agree with this or what you think of this. He said something along the lines of songwriting is like very much a muscle you have to train.
Oh, yes.
He goes, so when you start, just know your first few songs are going to suck. It's exactly what he told me. He goes, dude, you need to get those out first, and then you will get better at it.
I wrote my first song when I was 16.
We have a link for that? No. Put it down below.
It's so bad. It's like, what is the line? Oh yeah, it went something like, "I can't lose you, I can't," or what is
this
it?
Another love song?
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right.
I was so into love songs, like, and I never dated anybody in high school. Like I think I.
Maybe it's time to pull that out of the archives and record it.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely like an emo, like 2008, like, "Oh, I can't lose you." So
I want to hear that. Yeah, so that's funny you mentioned that, because a big. We can go on for hours, and we won't. But I'll ask you the same question. But I was going to ask you about musical influences when you were growing up or whatever. When I was a student, we listened to a lot of Christian emo and rock.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you'll know these, but bands like Emery and Amberlin and Under Oath and The Classic Crime, and it kind of carried over into the way we played and sang.
I feel like I don't know any of those.
It's okay. If I played you a snippet of what Emery, the singer, sounds like, and then I played you
like cursive singing, like
what is cursive?
God, you're so good. No. What is it?
No. So this is
it like emo stuff?
Emo core is what it would be.
Okay.
Genreized. Is that a word?
How do you do the cursive singing?
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's like the girls who sing like emo. It's like, all right, my name. Like,
it's not that.
It's like open mouth, kind of like
not that.
Super whispery.
No, not that. But anyway, that's kind of the influence we had.
That's cool.
And if I played you a bit and then played you like or sang for you, you'd be like, you are what you sing like.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm gonna turn the table to you. What were some of your music influences growing up? Were you okay? You don't have to answer this if you don't want to. But were you one of those kids that only listened to Christian music?
Yeah, early on, Like,
as a choice, or because you weren't allowed to listen to the?
It wasn't like a you're discouraged. Like it was like a more you're discouraged from, but like when I got like 12, 13, 14, like I started kind of dabbling more in the dark arts of secular
dabbling
music.
in the dark.
The dark arts is crazy.
Dabbling the dark arts. I've never heard it that way. We called it worldly music.
Yeah, the dark arts of the secular world.
That's funny. Okay.
No, yeah.
I've never heard it that way. That's funny.
No, but I feel like I definitely started getting into more like love songs and romance and
you and love songs.
Yeah, definitely like, pop and I think I definitely was influenced by some cool, like really awesome Christian artists, but
like
trying to think back to like 2014 and 15. I listened to a lot of Christian rap. Like Andy Mineo and Lecrae and
will forever be the greats.
Dude, for real. Andy Mineo's the GOAT.
Andy Mineo and Lecrae was my teenage years.
Dude, let's go. That's literally me.
Yeah.
So I did
would
listen
have
to a
never
lot of
thought
that. No, yeah. And then when I got like probably 15, 16, I started listening to more like pop music. Like I loved the artist Love. And he has songs like Paris in the Rain and then honestly I was just kind of all over the place, but he definitely influenced my like style producing wise and just kind of more of like a cinematic approach to music and like kind of creating an environment through music and right now, like I mean as far as the last few years, I think the last 5 years have been more formative for me worship wise, like as far as like leading and kind of my vocal timbre and everything like that. And I think that, Brandon Lake has been a big influence and
that makes more sense to me than
definitely Brandon Lake
you.
And dude, I'm literally blanking, but he's definitely a big one. And then maybe like Chris Brown. I listened to a ton of Elevation Worship when they came out with Here As in Heaven album. Like that from then on I listened to them,
I'm a little older than you, not much than both of y'all. But
oh, you're old.
But when I was a student, Jesus Culture was kind of the hot thing.
Yeah.
And Bethel
Kim
was
Walker-Smith.
just getting in the scene. And then Hillsong was still the main player, but they were slowly fading away and there were other people coming. But I grew up listening to only Christian or worship music. Again, same thing. It's not that it wasn't allowed, but I don't even know if it was even discouraged, to be honest with you. But my upbringing is so unique because I just told you about emo core or whatever. But I grew up on Southern gospel too. That's very different. I mean, if you can swing a pendulum one way or the other, you know. But again, I also had worship or whatever. Here's the other unique thing about me was I also fell in love with movie scores at a young age.
Yes, me too.
Really?
Yes, I love movie scores.
Oh my gosh.
Who's your favorite?
Who's yours?
I love Hans Zimmer.
Okay, we should have started with this, but
I love Harry Gregerson.
Oh my gosh,
Williams,
dude!
Is that what his name is?
You've just opened a can. I've been waiting for this opportunity. This is gonna be good.
I love.
Okay.
What's his name?
Ludwig Göransson. Oh my gosh. Okay, hey, hold that thought.
John Williams is obviously the OG. I love him too.
Dude, our friendship's gone to a new level. I was gonna say my favorite is John Williams because no one can touch
him.
Dude,
you can't touch him.
You can't.
You can't.
He's a genius.
He's a genius.
Have
Every song.
There's a new documentary.
I started watching it.
I cried.
It was so beautiful. Yeah, it's just like so wild to watch.
And I love the people they interviewed to talk about him, like Seth MacFarlane or Chris Martin from Coldplay.
Yeah.
And they talk about like the dude is a rock star. Like he comes out. He's the only classically like composer. What other composer conductor can make like can fill out and sell out an auditorium first of all, and then whatever. Anyway, but I fell in love with movie scores.
Hans Zimmer can.
I love Hans Zimmer. I was trying to see him live.
Dude.
Did you look into tickets too?
No.
The closest was like Milwaukee, I think.
Okay.
But anyway, I fell in love with movie scores. This is so random. There's a movie called The 10 Commandments from the 1950s.
Love that movie.
Really?
Yep.
It's one of my personal favorites.
With, what's his
Charlton
name?
Heston.
Charlton Heston.
We watched it all the time, and I loved it. And to this day, Moses, Exodus, I'm fascinated with.
Ben-Hur.
Yes.
You ever seen Ben-Hur? Yeah, I love that
movie.
movie.
Dude, yeah. King of Kings. Have you seen that one?
Is that
It's around the same era.
Is that Joseph?
No.
No, is that Esther?
It's the story of Jesus, King of Kings.
No, I haven't seen that.
Okay, you like that one. Same era. But yeah, 10 Commandments. And so when I was a little boy, I noticed that I loved the music.
Yeah.
That was the first score I fell in love with, was the 10 Commandments.
Yeah.
Elmer Bernstein is his name, who also wrote The Magnificent Seven, The Three Amigos, Airplane. He wrote a lot. And so then my dad I think he purchased like the soundtrack on a record.
Cool.
And I was like, I like that. And so then I started paying attention to other movie music.
Sure.
And when I was in junior high, I know I said emo core or whatever, but I was also the kid that listened to like just the soundtracks.
Dude.
So
yes.
Star Wars.
Same.
So Star Wars, I actually listened to the soundtracks before I watched the movies.
Dang.
The first one I bought was Revenge of the Sith. And
Dude.
when and when I first heard that soundtrack, it like just rocked my world, and it was on repeat forever. Yes. But yeah, my favorite, I love Hans Zimmer. He rocked my world in high school too with the Pirates movies.
Yes.
Come on, you know. And
The Dark Knight.
Yes.
So good.
That's my all-time favorite probably movie.
Yeah.
That and Inception. And he did that one too. But the movie music really influenced me, and I love it. And I still to this day, actually, I go through these weird phases of music. I don't know about you, where I have something on repeat.
Mm-hmm.
This is super random. At the time of this, I don't know when this posts, but at the time of this, something that's on repeat, the movie soundtrack on repeat is Hook. Have you seen that movie?
That's like the Peter Pan movie.
Mm-hmm.
Absolute classic.
That's like from the 1990s.
Yeah, John Williams did the music, and it's probably...
It's with
Robin Williams.
Robin Williams.
It's probably my current favorite score.
Really? Wow.
I forgot how I landed on it. I think I just randomly saw it on Netflix, and I was like, oh, I haven't watched this in a long time. And I was like, wow, this is a good movie. And then I was like, this is good music, and so it's kind of on repeat. But the other one is the score to Oppenheimer. That was when that first came out. That was on repeat for forever.
Yes. So good.
And Tenet is another good score. But dude,
Bro, Wild Robot, the new Universal movie that just came out.
Who did the music?
I think it was the guy that did Avengers. Is that
Alan Silvestri?
Alan Silvestri. No, it wasn't him.
I know most, so if you just...
I forget. I think it was either that guy or the guy who did Up. I know his
Michael
face.
Giacchino?
Yes.
Him?
Yes. I think it was him. But dude, Wild Robot, if you haven't seen it, 10 out of 10 would recommend. Best animated movie. Like it's like Kung Fu Panda level.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was so good.
Hans Zimmer did that one.
Hans Zimmer crushed that one. That's a great score.
But yeah, dude, I'm glad you like movie scores.
Dude, I feel the same. Like I was definitely influenced by movie scores.
The composer for that movie was Chris Bowers.
For what he just said.
Then I was totally off.
This is your job. You're doing it, dude. This is what
you.
you're there for. Thank you.
I thought I would Google that for you.
Thank you for calling me out. I don't know my movie scores, but
yeah, but like, and you mentioned Harry Gregson Williams. There's again, this is super. People aren't listening anymore, but there's
the music nerds are.
There's two Williams. There's Rupert Gregson Williams and Harry Gregson Williams.
Yes.
One is known for the Chronicles of Narnia.
Yes, that's Harry.
I'm gonna let our producer look that up. The Chronicles of Narnia.
The person who did the music for it?
Chronicles of Narnia, yeah.
Okay, I'm looking that up right now.
I want to say it's Rupert. But the other one...
No, yeah, Rupert. No, I was thinking Harry. Harry's the big,
younger one.
He's bigger. He's done more.
But one of them did The Martian, which is another one of my favorite
That's a great
scores.
movie.
Yeah. So that's the other thing,
Matt
too,
Damon.
is there's also, like, families. So, like, the Newmans, Thomas Newman, Randy Newman.
It was Harry Williams, sorry.
Harry did
The
Martian?
Harry Gregson Williams.
Okay, so Rupert must have done...
Did The Martian or Narnia?
That one's Narnia?
Narnia.
Okay, so Rupert's the other one.
Right.
So, but
I've seen Harry more on scores.
But Ludwig is a guy to watch out for, dude. He did the theme for The Mandalorian.
The Mandalorian.
Dude.
He crushed it. Yeah, it was so good.
First of all, that show is just...
So good. Well,
but
the first season is impeccable. After that, it kind of goes slowly.
The music.
Yeah, that's so good.
Oh, my gosh. I watch the closing credits for every episode just because of that main theme.
Dude, I don't know if you watch Star Wars. Like, are you a big Star Wars fan?
I'm a Star Wars fan.
Like Clone Wars? Did you get into like animated?
No, but I know
That's a classic.
Did John Williams do that? I know he did some. Maybe wrote themes or something.
I don't remember who did it, but the season 7 is like the end of it is like Order 66.
Oh yes.
And there's a one of the themes in that from when the ship is crashing. Dude, if you know, you know. But like there is a song in there that I was just like obsessed with.
Kevin Kiner did the Clone Wars.
Okay, there you go. But probably some themes from John Williams.
Yes. Oh yeah, for
but
sure.
But like he's a genius.
Yeah,
like
100%.
And I don't know if you know this or not, but he on the documentary, spoiler alert, he doesn't use any software. He does it all by hand.
Dude. That's right. I didn't get that far, but
he sits at the piano and I'm like how did I want to live in that brain for one day. Dude. What it's
Genius.
Like, you know. But anyway, so yeah, movie scores are a huge thing for me.
Huge influence, yeah, for me too.
Not that there's a way to carry that into the church worship world.
Yeah.
Maybe one could argue, but
for me, it's actually played out a little bit.
Really? How?
For our Vacation Bible School musicals.
That's right. That's another thing y'all do.
Yeah.
You write original music for those, correct?
Correct.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's fun.
So we've been writing original content for those.
Mm-hmm.
For the whole,
that's cool.
The whole span of our church lifetime. But
isn't that more of like a musical thing though, not really a score thing? Is it more?
Yeah,
like,
it's definitely more musical.
More like Alan Menken.
Yeah, but I have been trying. Yeah, it's I think just the influence of that.
I get it.
Kind of the theatrical, cinematic influence has played into that for me.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Well, I don't want this to be the longest episode ever, so I do have one more question for you.
Sick.
The theme of this podcast, and I probably should tell you this and preface you on this, is conversations of hope and healing.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you have a small testimony or a nugget of wisdom or
man.
Scripture that would maybe bring a listener hope and or healing.
Yeah, dude, for sure.
Yeah.
A part of my story has been that I've really struggled with an addiction for the past, since I was like maybe 11, 12. And God has brought a lot of healing into my life in the past 2 years. I started kind of a road on just kind of recovery in that, and it's been amazing. And I think a big thing for me right now is that I'm never going to be perfect, but like I'm going to you can be perfect, you can be perfected in areas, and striving for that without the conscience, I guess the influence of perfectionism, which is you have to do everything right, and if you mess up, you should just give up. I think that's how I would interpret it. And so for me right now in this season of like, I just got married 2 months ago.
Yeah, congrats.
Thank you.
Thanks for the invite. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I'm done.
I'm just kidding.
And but yeah, for me right now, it's been like a thing of like I've come a long way. Like the Lord has completely changed me and like healed me in ways that I can't even describe to you right now. Like it would take another hour, but
yeah.
I still have so much left to do, so much work to do. So if you're struggling with like an addiction right now, you like one of my affirmations that I say is like, I have changed, I can change, and I will change. And when I tell you like it's unlocked, like for us with like just worship and ministry and music, it's like it's unlocked so much creativity. It's unlocked so much more in me that I never thought was possible, because I thought I was just always going to be that way.
Yeah. We had a guy on talk about his testimony, and he said that same exact line, exact thought. He said when he was in the midst of it, he believed you were always going to be whatever, at it. You will always be like that.
Yeah. And like if you're dealing with that right now, it's like you have to realize that you're not, like, it's okay to, like, for me to get on this podcast. I'm a worship leader at a church, and like I'm like in my mind right now, I'm like even like, oh, these guys are gonna judge me, or like people are gonna see this and look at me different. It's like, but it's like I know everybody has their own like deal. Everybody has, whether it's an addiction or
my previous pastor would call it a pet sin.
Yeah,
in Missouri, he called it a pet. Everyone has a pet sin.
Yeah, and everybody has something that the Lord wants to work out of them continuously, and so. If you need help, get help, because it's so worth it. On the other side, it's so possible. You don't have to be in the trenches forever. So that's kind of my hope. Right? Yeah, you don't have to do it alone.
That's good.
I'm not doing it alone.
Sure.
If I was alone, I'd be dead. Honestly,
wow.
Like if I was alone, doing my own thing, I would be so dead spiritually. I would be so far from where God has put me. And I'm so blessed, and it's because of other people in my life. So
Sure.
yeah, man.
Yeah. Dude, maybe you have to come back and we'll talk about ORU days because I didn't even get to that. I meant to today because I'm very curious.
I want to talk about conspiracy theories.
Oh, gosh.
I want to talk about...
Well, I'll be back a few times.
I want to talk about so many things.
Oh, my goodness.
No, I'm thankful for you guys. I also wanted to say
Sure.
I'm really thankful for this podcast that you guys are doing.
Sure.
And I love this church. I love that you guys are doing things. You're not stagnant, and it's really cool to see like even like just the improvements to your live stream. Like you've been doing such a good job.
I appreciate it.
The mix sounds so good.
Dude, thank you. You were a big reason for that because I watched y'all's stream and I'm like, man, they sound good. And I was like, how do you do that? And so that was an inspiration. And by the way, we're using the transmitter for this camera right here.
Let's go.
So this guy right here is the reason we have our mobile cam for the baptism Sundays and special. It's because of this guy. So thank you for that, dude.
Dude, seriously. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I'm I only learned from YouTube, so it's like I just I just gave you what I've been learning, and so
that's all they do at ORU, huh? No,
basically.
No, seriously, we'll have to have you back, talk about ORU, conspiracy theories. That'd be fun. Honestly, that would be really fun,
dude. It gets crazy quick.
Yeah,
so
I am not a conspiracy theorist.
I am. Well, I'm not kidding. But
no, Austin, thanks so much.
Dude,
appreciate
absolutely.
it. We don't get to connect often, even though we're in the same town, but every time we do, I always feel uplifted and full afterwards.
Well, that's good.
So I really appreciate it. Yeah, thanks so much.
Absolutely.
You guys, if this was encouraging to you, please share this with someone. Make sure that you go and comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. All that stuff really helps us. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you guys on the next episode.
See ya.
Thanks for listening, and be sure to follow Restoration Podcast on Spotify and Apple. If you're watching on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe.